seconds, so I'm gonna get out there and get some more. Hold on just a second.
Hey, Todd Castledine here. Man, if y'all don't know, I'm a guy who fishes Rayburn a bunch, been fishing it for years, do a lot of tournaments. And I wanted to share with y'all a little fishing report on Sam Rayburn for pretty much the month of May. If y'all don't know, I have my own YouTube channel. It's Todd Castledine Fishing. Please subscribe, guys. It helps me do these things. Honestly, the more subscribers I get, the more I do this stuff, probably the more fishing reports I'll do. I'll try to start doing a lot more Sam Rayburn fishing reports, because I mean, there's just a lot of people on the water right now, and to be honest with you, I've been seeing a lot of people struggle. So I kind of want to give some people some pointers, some helps, point them in the right direction, and hopefully this helps. So and all the guys that do subscribe and have been and follow all my videos, thank y'all. I really appreciate it. And like I said, comment below, man. Let me know what y'all think. So let's dive right into it. I spent the last couple days on Rayburn. I haven't really been fishing Rayburn in the past couple weeks, but I went out there. I wanted to see kind of what everything was going on. And when I first got out there, man, I was really excited. I was really excited about the shad spawn deal, because I know how good it can be. And when I first started doing the shad spawn a couple weeks ago, when it first started happening, it really wasn't going on. So I was really excited. Get out there, run to a whole bunch of spots in the morning time. You know, the first couple didn't pan out very well, and about 9 o'clock rolled around and it was still horrible. So for 2 days we went out there in the morning time, and it was horrible. In the morning, the bite was off. It just wasn't good. And we're talking shallow shad spawn stuff, so stuff around the hay grass, pebble grass, hydrilla. There wasn't a lot going on. It wasn't good. And so, and I'm not saying it wouldn't be good, but I think I hit enough areas to know that it wasn't right. So that's kind of one of those deals where I've seen that happen before. Like the shad spawns really goes on really good in the morning for the first hour. From what I saw, it wasn't going on very good. Didn't see saw a lot of birds, but they weren't really doing anything. Almost saw no explosions, nothing chasing shad. I'm not saying you can't get bit, but it wasn't firing. What I will say though is later on in the day is when it fired. So like 10 o'clock, fish started busting. We saw fish schooling. Shad were going crazy. Fish were going crazy. The bite picked up. So pay attention to that. Right now, for whatever reason, that morning bite's not that good up shallow. It gets better as the day goes on. And we also noticed that the evening bite wasn't that good. And 3 weeks ago, the morning bite was really good, and the evening bite was phenomenal. Like they were exploding everywhere and chasing everything in the evening time, and it's not like that right now. So pay attention to that. We went on 2 different days. One day we had nothing but clouds, and it was overcast, and it was fairly calm. The next day was bright, sunny. The front had just moved through. That was yesterday. So it was kind of 2 totally different days. What we figured out was the clouds made them roam big time, and we finally got on a really good popping perch bite. It was only in a couple little areas, and they were really not relating that much to cover. I mean, you could catch them a long ways away. When I say a long ways away, sometimes you have to throw in a tight little spot, but for right now, you could be 10-15 foot away from a bush or a tree or a grass or anything, and they'd come up and eat it, like they were following it. So that was really important. The next day, it was like when it was sunny, you had to put it right on them. So that was the contrast. We thought the grass bite was actually better in the sun than it was in the clouds. And if you guys know me, I'm not a guy who throws a lot of soft plastics around anywhere. I want to say 90% of the people I see out there on Rayburn are doing that. I personally don't do that. I throw a lot of moving baits. I just think that's a better way to catch them. I think once you figure them out that way, you can run spots, you can catch them quicker, and you can catch a lot bigger fish. I just think slowing down and throwing a worm or a fluke or any of that stuff. A fluke's actually not too bad right now, but throwing, you know, Cincos and stuff, I just, that's never been my style, especially now. They are after shad, and I can't stress that enough. They are not on perch. They're not on anything. They are on shad. And if you can find the shad up there shallow, you're gonna catch them. And it doesn't matter on what kind of cover. That's what the crazy part was. Didn't matter if it was grass, pepper grass, hay, or bushes or trees. Every single spot on that lake right now, or when I want to call it sections, every single section has a different thing going on for it, right? So sometimes they're all on bushes on that section, sometimes they're all on grass, sometimes they're all on hay. And what I'm gonna give y'all in my fishing reports, and I probably should have stated this up front, I absolutely hate fishing reports. I hate them. I read them in magazines, I read them in the newspapers. I'll be honest, guides give them, people give them. I think they are the worst information in the world. They're basic, they're generic, they're the same thing. It's like, go throw a fluke around here, go throw a Cinco, go throw a spinnerbait. Guys, you know how hard it is to go catch a fish on a spinnerbait some days? I mean, everything has to be right sometimes on Rayburn to catch them on a spinnerbait. And right now is one of those times you can actually catch some, only because they're on shad. But I just don't like fishing reports that guys give, generic stuff, and they say, hey, go find the edge of the grass. Well, guys, you can always catch one on the edge of the grass. Like, you can catch one on the edge of the grass 12 months out of the year. That's not a fishing report. That's just a staple of saying something. So I'm going to try to give y'all in-depth things for y'all to think about, because that's what we're doing out there. Every section of that lake, and it might be a mile long, will fish different than the other section that's a mile long. And it all just depends. So we would find some places that had grass and they would only relate to the hydrilla. Other places there would be hay grass up there and bushes, and all of a sudden they would only be on the bushes. And I'm talking about like they'd be on every 10th bush, and you could throw a top water on them, you could flip them, you could do certain things. The baits aren't really that important in the sense of, you just fish the bait that makes sense in that area, because we caught them on top waters, crankbaits, probably about 3 different top waters, 2 different crankbaits up shallow. We caught them on chatterbaits, spinnerbaits. We caught them doing a whole bunch of different things. So it was really just what made sense in that area, because a lot of times if you got pepper grass in there, it was hard to throw certain baits in there. Pepper grass kind of not the greatest thing to throw a lot of different baits, because it gets hung up. So sometimes a swim jig worked better. Sometimes just a straight up rage swimmer on an open hook worked better. So kind of pay attention to that. A lot of it had nothing to do with the bait. It was just, they would hit any bait. You just had to get around some in that area. And there's a lot of dead water. That shocked me. There's a lot of grass that looks phenomenal that has almost no fish in it. Big stretches, like you know, close to a mile long stretches where we'd catch 1 fish. And same thing with the topwater deal. You'd go forever with the topwater, and then you get in a section and it'd have them. I was kind of staying away from pads just because I don't like fishing pads this time of the year. And that's kind of what the shallow bite was going on. It was kind of doing, that was the shallow water deal. We didn't fish deep very much. Now, when I say that, we ended up idling. We shut down the boat for something and had to do something. And I was just idling. I happened to be over where I had a kind of, it's a deep area. It's nothing special, but I graphed over it, you know, while we were just sitting there. I think we were like strapping down rods or something. And I was like, man, there's a bunch of fish down there. We ended up turning around, and there were so many fish we had to actually stop. I threw a Carolina rig down there, and first cast I caught a 4-pounder, and it was a Carolina rig, French fry, and we caught them every cast for like 20 minutes, all the way up to 32 foot. Why they were out there in 32 foot as well, I don't know, but these shad were out there like crazy deep. Once again, the shad weren't, they were in about 25 when we were sitting in 32. They were in about 25 to 20, but you could see fish all underneath them. And guys, the fish out there are stupid. We didn't catch a lot of big ones, and that's usual for this time of the year. We stopped on another deep spot just because I knew of one other spot like that was like from 20 to 30, and we caught them on it too. They were stacked up like 7 or 8, 10 of them were stacked right on top of each other. And that was the only 2 deep spots I fished, which made me wonder how many more fish are out there deep. I know they always get out there. I tend sometimes not to go out there. Of course, guys, you've got to realize I'm usually fishing tournaments, so a lot of that deep stuff I don't trust this time of year. I think you catch a lot of small ones. It's hard to catch big ones at times. It's hard for them to be consistent. I'm a guy who wants things to be consistent for weeks at a time, not just the day. So I think you can catch them out there. What I noticed about the one deep spot we were on was they went from 20 to 32 in a matter of about 4 minutes. I mean, it was like that. They started going deeper and deeper and deeper, and next thing you know, they were gone. And so that's one of those deals where they'll start moving with the shad. But I think there's a lot of fish out there deep in certain places. The crazy part is a lot of where we caught them deep, 100 yards away, we were all catching them there shallow too, in like 2 foot. So pay attention to points right now, bare points too. Anytime where there's a bare point and there's a grass, it can be hay grass, pepper grass, hydrilla, the edges of those points. Now I'm talking about where you can see bottom. There's fish usually right on that edge where the grass meets that bare bottom. A lot of fish blowing up like right there in 2 foot of water. And you can catch those fish. I mean, you can throw a sexy dog up there and it was like automatic. Like first cast, sometimes it hits the water and they already blew up on it. So that's kind of what's going on. The lake's a foot high. I did run up north. It's really, really muddy up there. It looks phenomenal. We never had a bite. I didn't stay more than an hour and a half. The reason I didn't stay is there's things up there that I look for that usually when you roll up there, it's like, if you find some hay grass in the water from certain little stretches, it's automatic. It was not automatic. It was so dirty. The water was so high and far back in places. It just didn't feel right to me. And that's part of the problem right now, is that when the lake gets high like this, I know it's only a foot high, but a foot is a big deal. Certain places you can kind of see the bank, and other places you look back there and you're like, man, there is a lot of water back there for them to be in. And that's one of those deals, is as the water fluctuates, a lot of those places get better and worse. And that's the problem with shallow water fishing, is you really have to figure out what section of the lake you're in if you can catch them. To me, if it looks really, really good right now, like hay grass and pepper grass and grass, like it looks phenomenal, that ain't the deal. That's not really good looking stuff. It's hard to catch them when it looks so good up there and there's so much for them to be in. So I've been staying away from places like that. Notice I said the bare point stuff. A lot of the times if you can get a lot more bare things in there, then it isolates them a little bit more to catch them on. We never caught a really big fish over, I think we caught some 6s, and that's a big fish, don't get me wrong, but we didn't catch anything giant. Still kind of hard to catch 3 and 4 pounders. You catch some 3s. 4s are still fairly scarce, almost like 1 or 2 5 to 6 pounders a day. Still had good days, still had 20-pound days, and we were catching 50 to 60 fish a day. Probably could have caught more. When I'm out there, guys, I'm usually not, I don't literally just sit on fish and just try to catch a bunch of them. I usually find fish and just keep on trying to figure out more and more things. So that's what's going on. I probably shouldn't say this. There weren't that many people out there on the water when we were out there. I heard it's been just crazy. There was quite a few, and to be honest, there weren't a lot of bass fishermen. There were guys out there bass fishing, but it wasn't the normal boats I'm used to. So I say that now, and this weekend it could be just lights out, because I think this weekend is going to be pretty nice. So that's the fishing report, guys. I hope y'all liked it. let me know if there's since this is the first one I've ever done. I got pretty thick skin, guys. Leave some comments like, hey, say I want to know more about the baits you were throwing, or what end of the lake you were on, or like how deep is the grass. I can tell y'all the grass, guys, is growing from like, it's growing up there really shallow. I didn't see much more of it past 9 foot where I was at, and I didn't go over the entire lake. Like, I'm not going to drive around the entire lake. The lake's fishing too good right now to have to drive everywhere. It seemed like everywhere we went, we got bit. There were just certain places that were better than others. So I did not fish the south end. I stayed closer to the north end. And when I mean the south end, I did not go below Veach or Caney. I just didn't put in down there. And to be honest with you, we caught fish from, you know, a minute from the boat ramp to as far as we went. It didn't matter where we went, we caught fish. Certain places were just better. It's fishing really, really good, guys. I mean, for actual just catching fish, it's pretty darn good. I will admit that. It's better than I've probably seen it all year. I think it's better now than it was in the springtime. So that's it. The shad spawn, guys, man, I'm doing some videos on the shad spawn, and I'll do one. I think my next video after this is the shad spawn deal. So pay attention, you know, watch it. It's interesting. The shad spawn thing's a very, very difficult thing to figure out. It's almost impossible to predict, because they're so, the weather and shad are just crazy, and they do stupid things, to be honest with you. So check it out. You might learn some things about the shad spawn, and I'll have some videos up of our last 2 days. They'll be coming out soon. I don't know how soon. We got a lot of editing to do, but once again, thanks, guys, and be sure to check out that shad spawn. I think it's a cranking for the shad spawn is what it's called, and it'll be out in like 2 or 3 days after this. Like I said, once again, thanks, guys. Please subscribe, man. It really helps me out. And like I said, I'll be able to do a lot more of these Rayburn reports for all y'all. Anyways, y'all take care.